everyone. I would like to welcome each and every one of you to our Tuesday, November 19th, 2023, regular call board meeting. We're going to try not to wear your distance, but as long as we can take care of the business of the board tonight. So I will ask you to stand for pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Strobel.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving Lord, in this nation we are richly blessed. The good things of life are available to many. Your gifts are great, and we thank you. Yet, even as we acknowledge the comparative wealth that we take for granted, we are reminded of those in our county and in our country who have very little. Therefore, O God, we lift up to you this day the disadvantaged, the impoverished, the undereducated. Help us all to have renewed concern for and to befriend the poor and the needy. May this board celebrate the richness of your blessings, but only as we reach out to those who have great needs. Doing so in your name and to your glory. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. I would like to entertain a motion to approve our agenda for tonight, please. Tuesday, November 14, 2023.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented to us on Tuesday, November 14, 2023.
I have a motion. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If there is no discussion, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you. We're going to move into Chair's report. I would like to entertain a motion to approve minutes from our regular board meeting, October 17, 2023, amended regular board meeting, August 15th, 2023.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the regular board meeting minutes for October 17th and also the amended regular board meeting minutes to include the executive session on August the 15th as presented.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If there is no discussion, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you. I would like to have us consider a date for changing December 2023 Committee of the Whole and regular board meeting date. I know we discussed that we wanted to do, well, we discussed having one meeting, but I would entertain any conversation that you have.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept December 12th at 6 p.m. as our December meeting.
December 12th?
I second it.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second for our regular call board meeting to have one meeting, which will be held December 12th, 2023. And you said at what time?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Yes.
Just for information purposes, we will have the Circle of Excellence and Awards program on December 19th, and that will encompass all of our students for SC Ready and SC Pass and EOC, and also our student staff recognition for November and December will be held at that December 19th awards ceremony, and that will begin at 6 o'clock. Okay. Just for your information.
So I was going to get to that later, but since you already, would you give them a location as well? Let them know exactly where we are with
Yes, that will be held at the PAC Center at the high school in the Performing Arts Center.
Okay.
At 6 o'clock, December 19th.
Okay, thank you.
The 12th will be held here.
Yes,
yes,
correct.
The 12th will be here, the 19th will be at the Performing Arts Center.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion and, well, I have a first and a second for December 12th, 2023. If we have no discussion in reference to our December regular call board meeting, which is going to be one board meeting, I will go ahead. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Okay, we will now continue on with the agenda for public input.
The guidelines for addressing the board. There's nothing in the law or anyone here that prevents you from saying anything you wish to say. Please try to refrain from commenting on any pending student or employee discipline or grievance matter. What you say will become information which is subject to the Freedom of Information Act laws. If you choose to call specific employee names, we suggest that you do not. It is the board chairman's duty to inform you that you could also be subject to defamation laws according to your statements. Please present your comments without using offensive language or making comments in a disrespectful manner. School district policy allows you 3 minutes for comments, and Ms. Terrell will keep the time. She's to my left. Board members and the superintendent are not required to respond to your comments unless they choose. We thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you. We will call Ms. Young, please, come up. Good evening.
No, ma'am.
Is that on? So-
There's a button.
Red button?
There you go.
Now we know. Now we know I retired. So, good evening. I would like to thank the school board, the staff of Colleton County School District, and especially Ms. Williams for the community gathering that we had. Although our test scores were not what we wanted, the turnout was great and the information was useful, and the message of unity, community, and it's all about the kids was very strong. I also heard Mrs. Williams speak to the Chamber of Commerce and at the 50th anniversary for the Band of Blue. Her message was clear, and I believe it is important to repeat that unity and community will have a positive effect on our students. It's all about the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll call Ms. Yates.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Nayobe Yates. I'm a student at Colleton County High School, and I would like to share my concerns about the dress code. So first off, it robs students from expressing themselves and to feel comfortable, and also bans students from expressing their culture or religions. Since many cultures have hair wraps like bandanas, scarves, or kippas, parents or guardians have to spend more money on trying to abide by the codes, and that may be a disadvantage for families who are low income. When it comes to choosing what to wear, some kids might have to rush to find clothes, especially if their school uniforms are dirty or won't have time to dry enough for class. Strict dress code leads to unnecessary confrontation with staff and administrators. Because if we are here to learn, study, and help others, what we wear should not affect that, and the purpose of school is to learn and grow. For students who do well in school, for example, that are involved in the National Honor Society, sports, or band, are focused on doing good things, and it is clear to me that having a normal, everyday clothing does not stop them from doing what they need to do. I believe if the dress code was just a bit lighter and students would have a freedom to express themselves, it will cause less stress or confrontation from staff to worry about what is on our bodies. This is because the stricter the dress code is, the more students will most likely want to disobey the codes. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Ms. Yates, before you leave, you said you're at Colleton County High School?
Yes.
And what grade are you in?
I'm a senior.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yates.
Thank you. We have no old business. We have new business. Mr. Irwin.
Board, I hope you took the time to look at the delegate assembly handbook that was sent to us from the State School Board Association. I have been chosen, voted for, whatever, to be the delegate for this board. I think there are 32 or 33. I think there are 33 resolutions that have been presented, and then one that has been presented for deletion. So I hope you had a chance to go over those and look through those. Hearing no one want to discuss any tonight, I am assuming that it is my duty in December to go and to vote in the affirmative for these. So if you have a chance to look over them, and if something should come up, something you don't agree with or something you think needs to be changed, please let us know quickly so we can get those things done before that delegate assembly meeting in December.
I think your deadline is the 17th, if you want to get a statement in.
For November?
Yes.
Okay. Did anybody have a chance to look over them and have any questions or concerns?
No questions. The conference is open to all board members. And I know I'm going, and we'll bring back any information presented.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And before I go, we do have a meeting that will be scheduled on that Friday. So if there is any concern, any task that we're working in Colleton County that we need some assistance, I would like to have those emailed to me, so when I go to my meeting, I can discuss that with them. We'll move along. Ms. Williams, we're going to have you come up and discuss recommendation to change 2024 graduation date.
Testing.
I think you're on the flat one on the.
It's green. Testing.
We got you.
You got
Can you hear me?
You can,
Yes, ma'am.
yes. Loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. Now I hear myself. Okay, I couldn't hear myself. All right, I am recommending, board members, greetings to all of you. I am recommending that we change the 2024 graduation date from June 1st to May 25th. This date will be 1 week earlier than planned, but it will be before the last day for teachers. The last day for teachers is May 29th. And I have consulted with our team, our district leadership team. I've also consulted with Mrs. Principal Bodison about this, and it would just be better because the teachers will still be on contract. If we have graduation on June 1st, the teacher's last day is May 29th. So I'm requesting that we change this date, and we also think about this in the future for future planning of graduation as well.
Ms. Williams, I'm sorry, it is currently set for June the 1st,
June 1st,
and you are recommending that we change it to when?
May 25th,
May 25th.
which is 1 week earlier.
And it makes sense due to the teachers will be leaving like around the 29th, you said?
Yes, the last day for teachers is May 29th.
Ms. Williams, do you know right off when the last day of grades is for that?
I don't have the calendar.
I was just wondering because we do junior marshals and stuff like that. I just wanted to make sure, will all the grades be in book?
Well, I know the grades will be in for the seniors because they will
Right.
be finished with all of their requirements.
The
Did somebody
grading,
have the
grading period
28th?
ends. Mine says
The
The
28th.
28th is the last day.
Okay,
It's for the last day of the grading period is May 29th? 28th.
okay, so we do juniors as junior marshals for graduation.
Correct.
and that's based on like with the top 20 or whatever, or junior marshals, something like that? Is that right? Somebody? Anybody? So my concern with that, Ms. Williams, is if the grades aren't in, is that going to cause an issue with us determining who the junior marshals would be for graduation?
I can't answer that question, Mr. Irwin. It is a very good question. When I spoke to Ms. Bodison concerning this, she didn't bring that up as a concern.
Okay.
So the issues that we've had in the past is that teachers are not on contract, and we're having graduation after.
Sure.
And it's hard to get the teachers to come and participate in graduation.
The only reason I'm asking this, Ms. Williams, my daughter is a junior in another school district, and she is very mad and upset right now because she's number 24 in her class, and only the top 20 are junior marshals. So she's working very hard to move up 4 spots, and I just wonder if we have that same kind of competition here, and if we do graduation before the end of the time grades are, might we have a spot or two that are affected by those final grades? It's just maybe something we just need to look at and think about.
I can definitely find out.
Can we just put it on hold till the December meeting, so then all that information will be gathered and we will have, I'm sure it won't be a problem just as long as everyone is,
I just want to make clear, I have no problem with the recommendation at all. I'm all for it, but I do want to make sure that no one gets cheated, out of whatever honor or whatever they may have based on, waiting for those final grades to get in.
Most definitely.
Ms. Williams, didn't you say your team had already discussed it and looked at the dates, and so I'm sure they would adjust everything
We did.
for the exams and calendar?
I would like to make sure of everything, and, we still have time. So if we do that in December, I think it'll be enough time for everyone to be notified of the change. So I would rather get that information and make sure we're, good before we make that decision. That was just something we didn't think about, the junior marshals.
Also, that's Labor Day, that's Memorial Day weekend.
It is.
And have we asked any senior parents or those that would be affected by that? I would like
No, we
focus
didn't.
group, graduation parties are going to be affected, and,
it may work in their favor because family travel and coming home.
Yeah, those were our thoughts, that, just as Ms.
Longer
Simmons said,
weekend.
that it might be a great thing because they're off, some people are off for that weekend, so it might have family at home. But we can definitely, we've not done a survey in the past. We've always set the graduation date. So I think that we will just move ahead with finding out about the junior marshals. If you all want us to do a survey, we can do that.
This is not a board decision in that, it is on the calendar,
Right.
and we approve the calendar.
Right.
However, we've been routinely told that the board is not a part of the graduation. That's a function of the school.
Right.
So, whatever the school finds,
Okay.
So
I think
basically,
some
what,
good suggestions just brought up in consideration, but ultimately, as it is a function of that school, needs to be what works best for the school. The reason I brought up Memorial Day is if you're bringing up staff, to have an event on Memorial Day weekend could be a challenge as well. But whatever works best would
I
be.
think if you discuss it with the high school principal, which is normally make majority of the decisions, and you, just bring it back to us and we'll
We
be
will.
happy to take a look at
We'll bring
it.
it back in December.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now go to policy item, first reading, 6.01, the Gavin Law, and 6.02, life-saving medication. Attorney Allison, would you like to?
Gavin's Law,
I can hear her.
for you to have a policy by July
Ms. Allison, has Gavin's Law already gone into effect, or will it go into effect the new year?
It's already gone into effect, but you have to have the, it's actually a criminal statute, it has gone into effect. What does not have to take effect is your policy until July 1st.
Okay.
But the law, the criminal part is already in effect.
So just from my point of view, this is something that we have to do. We just need to kind of fine tune it. So this would be one of those situations where we could go ahead and approve the first reading and do any kind of tweaking or whatever we need to do before the second reading.
You could always tweak it for the second reading, but I will tell you, this one, there's really not anything to tweak. It is just what the law says.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can I make a motion that we accept the first reading of Gavin's Law?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I just would like to state that in reading this policy, there are a number of things that our district needs to do as far as changing our student code of conduct, understanding how we're going to filter this information to our students and to our parents, also addressing staff conduct. So in the presentation of the second reading, if we can get an update on how that would be handled, and if that would be something our district would partake in for this year or wait to instate for the next school year.
You have any?
Once the policy is passed, you're gonna have to publish it for your parents and your.
Okay. So I think, Ms. Williams, just better understanding how we'll implement it before the second reading.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you. Life-saving medication.
This also is a new law that, or it's actually an old law, but was amended this year to change it. It used to deal just with epinephrine, which, is for people with life-threatening allergies that have an EpiPen. And the law is called the SAVE Act, which is safe access to important epinephrine or something to that effect. It's an acronym, but it's now been amended to include that schools can have other stock medications, in your schools and in your district offices that are life-saving, and it's based on a list that's published annually by DHEC, and currently that list is epinephrine, it is your inhalers, your albuterol inhalers, and it was added for Narcan. And so Narcan is what most people wanted to have added to their policies, so that's why it doesn't use that word in the policy, because the list could change, based on DHEC's guidelines each year, so you don't need to change it. But what this means is, you do not have to have a prescription for this medication for a specific person. Your school nurse can have those three medications in what's called stock. So they can get it, from your pharmacy. And my understanding is DHEC has already,
Yeah.
provided Narcan to all the schools in the state. And so you need the policy in place to be able to administer it. And you can administer it not only to students, but if you had a football game and there's a parent or somebody from another community, who is at your game who has an overdose, it can be, that stock medication can be administered. Law enforcement has it, fire departments have it, EMSs, and it's not in the name of an individual person, it's a stock medication. And my understanding, and I think that Mr. Steiner can probably, speak to this better, but none of these medications can actually harm you, if you use it in use it in good faith, and it can only help you, it can't harm you if it wasn't needed. And there's a good faith exception, that if you administer it in good faith, it can't be held liable.
And a lot of the community, like health department, fire department, they are offering community learning event where you can go and they'll teach you more about it, how to administrate it. So I know Charleston County was doing some, so I don't know if Colleton County have put any on training yet, but they are starting to do that.
I also know that anybody in the community can go to your local DHEC and get a kit, and it comes in a paper bag with instructions, and it comes with 2 doses. And the Narcan is a nasal inhaler, and so
Yeah.
if someone is having an overdose, it's a nasal spray. So anybody in your community can go to DHEC.
Ms. Allison, can I just ask 2 quick questions? One, I think you just kind of answered it with the good faith thing, but I was fine until we got to the part of a football game and somebody could administer it. we're covered no matter who goes and grabs it and?
That's why your policy says it has to be trained, and so it's.
Okay.
Trained, and so your nurse is gonna have to train, the individuals. It's, in most schools, it's gonna be your nurse, your administrators, and probably for, athletics, your athletic director and coaches. But the nurse is gonna be responsible for training the staff in accordance with the extra.
Okay, and then right now, you said as of right now, there are 3 medications.
If it-
Who determines what medications are on there? So if we pass this policy, DHEC has the ability to add other medications later, and do we have a recourse if we think they added something that?
You don't have to have any of the medications in your school. What this policy allows you to do is to have a stockpile or a stockpile of any of the medications that are on that list. If you chose not to do it, you would not have to. But currently, they're only the life-saving medications. Again, epinephrine, the albuterol, and.
Thank you.
Can I make a motion, Madam Chair, that we accept the first reading?
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If there are no other discussion, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you.
Ms. Williams,
And we will
pardon
now-
me, Ms. Williams, if we could, in the second reading of that, have some better understanding about what training is necessary for our staff. And then, 2, there was a blank at the very bottom of the second page. The district will provide a student with, there's a policy that is blank, and so.
Policy that deals with individual health plans, and it's different in every district.
Okay.
Needs to be updated in your district.
We can get that with the second reading. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to policy. We need a second reading on policy IJL for library and media center. It's material selected and reconsideration process. This policy, some time back, we had done the first reading on this policy, and for some reason, we missed it. So we're now back for our second reading. I would like to entertain a motion. Well, would you like to discuss? It's not really anything to discuss because we have already.
I think there's some discussion to table this one for tonight because it needs to be updated.
Oh, so the update?
It is not current for your district, it's a model policy from School Board Association, and it needs to be tailored to your district, so if you could move that for second reading to December, that would be ideal.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we table policy IJL until the December meeting.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you, unanimous. We will now have superintendent report. Ms. Jones.
Ms. Williams? At this time,
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Jones. Good evening, board members. I have to get used to the new technology. My board report, put it up. Thank you. All right. So I want to say good afternoon to everyone. And at each of our board meetings, I always highlight one of our community partners that is sharing the district's mission and vision and just providing high quality support for us. And tonight, I would like to highlight Low Country Community Action Agency, whom we have collaborated with to provide a Head Start class at Hendersonville Elementary School. So tonight, thank you. Tonight, we have Ms. Senakita Farmer, who is the director of the Low Country Community Action Agency, and I'm going to call her to come up before you now to talk a little bit about the Head Start class at Hendersonville Elementary School.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am so excited because we have been working very hard, and I'm just so grateful for the school district to work with us to get this partnership together. This will be our very first partnership that's in Colleton County. We already have a partnership in Hampton County with in the Early Head Start. But one thing I will tell you about the Hendersonville Center, I'm very grateful for the staff of Hendersonville as well as all of the leaders in the different areas. We worked together. They did an awesome job with making sure that our children were taken care of. We opened the doors. The very first day was the 6th of November. And I was running late in the weather, and Mr. Smalls welcomed all of my children. As they got off the bus, he welcomed them to their center, to their door, and I was very appreciative of it. Even the school cafeteria, everyone making sure that our children are being taken care of. And just a little bit of anyone that does not know about Head Start. Head Start is a national program that promotes school readiness by enhancing social and emotional cognitive development for children through their education, health, and nutrition. And the one thing I can tell you about it is we've had partnerships all for years with the school district over different areas. And once we looked at our community assessment, it told us about different areas that we needed to branch out of. We have a location that's in Cottesville. We also have Early Head Start that we started almost 3 years ago. But it said that we had a need that was in the Hendersonville area. So instantly, I have, over the years, I have been talking to the different superintendents, and we have been working together, and this year it came into play. And I'm very appreciative of it. But it's also very good because we watched our children, and the piece is about transitioning. Once our children are in there, we focus on making sure that our children is 3 years old. So they'll get the Head Start experience 1 year, and then that year when they turn in 4 years old, they can already go to the pre-K area and get their 4th year. So it's all about collaboration, and I am so grateful and thankful that the school district came and they wanted to do this partnership because Head Start is promoting us for us to go into school districts for the transition of children, letting them get familiar with it because our children told me on last week, they said, oh, we at the big kids school now. So they just think that it's everything because they're at the big kids school, even though they're still riding their small bus. So I just want to thank everyone, and we look forward to continuing to partner with you as our community assessment lets us know that we need to branch out to other areas. So thank you.
Ms. Farmer, how many kids are there?
We have 17 slots, and at this present time, we have 11 slots that's already filled. We are still doing applications to fill those slots, and we're also taking applications to make sure that we have additional staff that's in the classrooms at this time.
So do you have enough staff to accept more
Yes,
students?
ma'am. So what we did was, the goal was, we're required by DSS to have 2 paid staff. But what we did was we put 3 paid staff in there, so that means it would not be for our staff to still get a break when they need it. If it's an emergency, we also have our admin staff that visits the center, and Mr. Smalls worked with us to make sure that he always know who's in and out of the building. So every morning, I already have a schedule set of when my admin staff is going to visit the classroom, and we just send an email to him and the secretary, so they are aware of the going and comings of our staff. So right now, we have 3 paid staff in the classroom.
Well, I thank you because I know we were considering this for a long time,
ma'am.
so it finally came to play.
Yes,
So thank you for all your hard work.
So thank you again.
You're welcome.
I want to again thank Ms. Farmer. This is really a win-win situation for our district because, as you know, the foundation, early foundation, is the key for student success. So because those children and those adults are there in Hendersonville Elementary School building, they are able to take advantage of professional development that may be going on for our pre-K teachers as well. So I'm just very, very happy about this partnership. Thank you again, Ms. Farmer. All right, at this time, I'm going to ask Nurse Dingle if she would come forward and just give you a brief synopsis of the mass screenings that are occurring now in our district.
Got my notes on the phone. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I just want to let you all know that we do mass screenings every year, usually around October and November. This year has been a challenge, so let me back up. When we do screenings, these screenings consist of vision, hearing, dental, blood pressure, and BMIs, or body mass index. Okay, we do these every year as a preventative screening tool to find early detection, to find out any of those students that have any deficits that we can go ahead and address. This year we have not had much participation with our parents and our students. We also partner with the Lions Club to come in. They do a comprehensive eye exam. If anybody's ever been to the eye doctor, they know that comprehensive eye exams can be very expensive. The Lions Club partners with us every year, and they offer this service to our students for free. So I'm just here to say that we are continuing the process with the students that we have that were willing to participate, but I would like for parents to just jump onto the bandwagon on next year and allow their students to participate, because we've even had to cancel the middle school's comprehensive eye exam. Now, the nurses will still do a visual eye exam, but it would be with a screening chart, and that's not as in-depth as it would be with the camera that the Lion Club uses. So we're just asking parents, you know, as we finish out the year and then for next year, to please get on board with us. You know, early detection can equal early intervention. With that, the students have a better opportunity of being successful in the classrooms. So we want them to partner with us, collaborate with us, so that we can provide the best care for our students. Our nurses work very hard to schedule these screenings, and so it's disappointing when we don't get the participation that we generally get. So I'm just reaching out to parents if they have any questions or concerns about the screenings and how they are conducted, if they could just reach out to our nurses, or they can contact me directly. My extension is 71590. Our goal is to make sure that our children are healthy and successful in the classroom. Thank you.
Is there a form that is sent home to the parents for them to complete?
Yes, we send the form home weeks in advance, and to allow them opportunities for us to receive them back, but we just don't get a lot of them back. And we also send out dialers. It was on the website. So we're just asking parents just to be a little more vigilant, and when that information comes out, to just be more responsive and send that information back to us so we can get our students screened.
I thought the information that I got as a parent was more, we're having the screenings and if you would opt out. Did I misread that? So
opting out was for the hearing and dental and BMIs.
Okay.
But the Lion Club requires us to have an opt-in or permission to screen with the camera.
So we have to sign a permission.
So you have to sign that form and send that form back to us. So we are also thinking about revamping that process on next year, so that it's not confusing, so that parents are well aware of what the process is, and we will look into that for next year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nurse Dingle. All right, so I'm going to move now to our State of the District and our report card ratings. As you are aware, I have communicated the State of the District concerning our South Carolina school report card ratings to the community, and in an effort to be transparent and to garner that support that we need in order to move our district forward. I wanted to just share with you tonight and the public the aggressive action steps that we have taken thus far to address this concern. So first, we've created the turnaround task force at the district level and at school level. So each school has a turnaround task force, as well as our district has a task force. The district level team consists of myself, Dr. Baddick, Dr. Reed, Mrs. Hedden, and Mrs. McDonald. And the five of us, the five-member team, we receive and we collaborate on all of the communication that we receive from the State Department, whether it's a letter that they have sent to us or information that our team members glean from various state meetings that they attend. And then the State Department required that we notify all schools. I did this by meeting with each school's faculty and explained our report card ratings and the implications. And just to let you know, I met with the bus drivers today, went to their transportation meeting, because I think that everyone needs to know this information. And I shared this with the bus drivers as well, and they were very, just surprised by the information, but they understand that they are important too, because they bring our students to school. So we had a very good discussion today with the bus drivers. We're also required to notify parents in the community. We did this by developing a letter and having principals send those letters home to parents. We then hosted a public meeting on November 6th at the Wildlife Center, and I want to say thank you to all of you for being there and just being supportive of this process. We collected a plethora of feedback on each school's strategic plan and suggestions for each school's turnaround plan, of which we have asked schools to have their plans written by November 30th. And I'll tell you why in just a few minutes. But we received that feedback from the community, and we have placed that information in your packets. So in your packets, you'll see a thick pack of information there that has all of the feedback typed from those Padlets that were used that night. We also have some feedback for you from the survey that we did at the end of the meeting. So all of that is provided to you just for your review, and we will talk more about it later as our schools begin developing their plans. But I just wanted to let you know that you have that information. Our next steps that we are going to do concerning all of this is we're going to revise the strategic plan and create those turnaround plans that I told you at each school. I called the state deputy superintendent just to make sure, because I wanted to make sure that our district is doing everything that we're supposed to, and to make sure that the information we receive, that we are interpreting it correctly. At first, we were thinking that the district had to write a plan as well. But from my conversation with the deputy superintendent, he said that only the schools have to write those turnaround plans. The district at this time does not have to write a plan. Now, we have not received that letter yet, because we're supposed to receive another letter stating that because of our 6 schools that are below average and unsatisfactory, that we have a designation as well. But I have not received that letter as of yet. When I receive it, I will send it to you as well. After the schools write their plans, we will communicate those plans to the public, and we will seek your approval of the plans as well. My goal is to have all of those plans ready for your review by the December 12th board meeting, because we have to submit those plans by January 15th to the State Department. So I want you to have an opportunity to look at them, review them. We're also requiring the principals to have School Improvement Council members to look at the plans and give input as well. I will be meeting with the principals on Thursday, and we will talk more in depth about that process of writing their plans and making sure that they have feedback and input from all sectors of their school. I'm also thinking about having another meeting, such as the meeting we had on November 6th, but maybe in a different format to garner more feedback from our stakeholders as well. So I don't have a definite date on that, but I'm looking at maybe sometime early December, and I will communicate that date to you and the location of where we will have it. I just really feel like it's important that we give our stakeholders many opportunities to provide feedback. And the turnout on November 6th was awesome. As you know, we had district leaders, we had county leaders, we had city leaders, we had just everyone came together, and it was really a great night, and we really received great feedback. I want to let you know that we will also be providing updates to you after our schools write their plans. The law states that we have to give our school boards quarterly updates concerning the progress of those turnaround plans, but we plan to give you those updates monthly. Okay? All right. I would also like to let you know what we're doing currently as far as what we're doing academically. We have a very heavy focus on providing interventions and accelerating our students. And we do this by focusing on student achievement data and making adjustments to instruction as necessary. So we have Principals Academy at every one of our schools. All of our principals and leadership teams are engaged in the iReady Academy, where we review our student data and discuss strategies for intervention or acceleration in ELA and math. We are aggressively performing classroom observations, not only by school teams, but district teams are going out weekly and performing observations and giving school leadership teams feedback. Our schools are receiving the feedback and our teachers are receiving it very well because they all know why we are being aggressive, very aggressive at this point. And we also have plans to visit schools and districts in person and virtually that are like ours who have increased their ratings. So we are planning our very first visit for this Thursday. We have the principal from Kelly Edwards Elementary School, which is in Barnwell Consolidated 2 School District, and we're going to have a virtual discussion with her. Actually, I'm going to have a discussion with her tomorrow with the district turnaround task force team, and then on Thursday during our principals meeting, she will present to our principals, and then they'll have an opportunity to ask her questions and different things of that nature. We're also looking at our data because we want to make sure that those schools that we visit, that those schools are like ours, have demographics that are similar to ours, and we're planning to visit middle schools and high schools as well. So I just wanted to let you know. And also at the meeting on Thursday, not only will we have the principal from Kelly Edwards presenting, we will also have our internal principal, Ms. Lauren Behe, presenting to our principals as well, because her school, as you know, has an average rating. So we're going to have her to present to our principals as well. So do you have any questions concerning the state of the district, our school report card ratings, any of that, before I move on?
Yes, Superintendent Williams, how often are our iReady scores being reviewed?
So our iReady scores are being reviewed very frequently.
Okay.
That is what our iReady Academy focuses on. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, we had iReady Academy today at Hendersonville Elementary School. They come how often do they come? They come every month. But the principals are reviewing that data weekly. Okay. And yes.
Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have two questions real quick, Superintendent Williams. The packet that we have, is this raw data or is this edited? Like, is this every comment that was made?
Yes, that is every comment that was made.
Okay. And the second thing, just kind of piggybacking on Mr. Stavanger, can we see the iReady data from where we were last fall to where we were last spring to where we are this fall, from where we were the beginning of this year to where we are now, those kind of things, so we can see? We get those state report cards and we get the final verdict, the final outcome. I think it would be nice to see, you know, maybe over the last 9 weeks we've made tremendous strides. Unfortunately, we won't see that again, you know, until the final report card. So if we can see some of that iReady data and kind of see kind of year to year, semester to semester, those kind of things, I think that would be helpful.
Most definitely. Ms. McDonald, she's right here, so I guess you have your assignment.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions concerning the state report cards. Okay, all right, the next part of my report, I just wanted to give you a brief update on the elementary support program. And as you notice, I'm calling it the elementary support program. We want to kind of stay away from the word alternative program, because it really is a program where we are supporting our kids that may be having issues and giving them the SEL support that they need so that they can return to their home school. But we have a team, and that team is continuing to discuss logistics of operating the program. The program right now is scheduled to operate at Forest Hills Elementary School. Sorry about that. To operate at Forest Hills, but they're having conversations now about class space, transportation, signage, and all of the different logistical things that we need to be mindful of. We are also discussing support services that will be provided to those students, such as SPED, nursing, and food services. We are also exploring community partners, which we already have a community partner that will be providing the SEL support for our students, actually free of charge. They do the billing to Medicaid, so we're very, very happy about that. And just looking at how many classes we want to start with, how many students we want to start with, what that classroom will look like, what administrative support would look like, and those kinds of things. So we are hoping to have that up and running by beginning to mid-January. Okay.
Wasn't the original discussion to have that at Hendersonville?
Yes, we did talk about Hendersonville. We talked about Hendersonville or Forest Hills. We found out that because of the way the principal has structured his school, that there's extra space at Forest Hills Elementary as well. And I just think it would be in close proximity to the program that's here at Cass. So I think the best decision is Forest Hills, having it there.
I really hope, Superintendent Williams, that we can, I know you said January to mid-January. I think this is a real urgent need for our district. I was speaking to a elementary school teacher the other day who has one kid in a very young grade that already has 26 referrals. And I think we have got to get something available to help these kids that need this extra help. I'm afraid some of this is causation for our teachers leaving, and as far as teacher recruitment stuff, I think we have to do something correctly. We don't want to rush through something and not have it together, but to get something together as quickly as we can and get it in action. Just if nothing else, to show our community, our parents, and our teachers that this is something that's really high priority.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay. Any other questions or discussions concerning the elementary support program? Okay. All right. Now, the last part of my report talks about our 2024-2025 calendar planning. And as we are planning for next school year, we did launch a survey to parents, and I think one of you suggested that we do that, so we did. Actually, we launched a survey and we talked about it at the last meeting, and then we launched another survey that we sent to our staff and our parents. From this particular survey, we had 543 responses, not as many responses as we'd hoped for, being that we have about 4,800 students. However, from those 543 responses, they were given several options to choose from, to include 3 days of fall break, similar to the 2023-2024 calendar. Another option was a shorter 2-day fall break with a full week for Thanksgiving break. Another option was a full week at Thanksgiving in lieu of a fall break, and then a longer winter break in lieu of a fall break with a 3-day Thanksgiving break. And as you can see on the pie chart there, we had 42.9% of the respondents that preferred a shorter fall break with a full week for Thanksgiving break. And then the next question in that survey asked, did they prefer for the first semester to end before winter break? And overwhelmingly, 91.8% preferred the first semester to end before winter break. And then the third question on the survey was, they had to choose options for spring break, which included spring break the week before Easter with the Monday following Easter off, or Good Friday off and then the week after Easter for spring break. And 80% of our respondents preferred Good Friday off and then the week after Easter for spring break. So as a result of the survey, calendars have been created that respond to the survey results. And they are in your packets. Those calendars are in your packet for your review, along with a detailed explanation of each calendar. We plan to launch the actual calendars for staff and parents to vote on, if you're okay with that, before the next board meeting in December, so that we can bring those results back to you and you can decide if you want to vote on the new calendar. I would like to thank the Superintendent's Council, all that you see here, and also Ms. Fitch, who is our Operations Director, for creating the calendars for your review tonight. So I just want to thank everybody because it's a team effort. But that basically concludes my discussion on the calendar.
Superintendent Williams, I know this is an issue every year when we do our school calendars. Have we given any consideration? Was there any discussion? Have we checked with our other region athletic schools that are in our same region as far as when they're on spring break and when they're not, so we can kind of align our athletics?
I'll let Ms. Fitch answer that one.
Yes, sir, and we usually, our region is Beaufort area and Charleston area. And Charleston usually goes right around Easter, and so this year we looked and they were the week before, or the week after Easter, just like we were. Next year, it looks like they might be the week before, so I did put that comment in there that could easily be adjusted without affecting our 45 days or our 90-day semester. So we could adjust that if they, and I think that they, Dorchester 2 has approved theirs, Charleston is not, but we don't play Dorchester 2 unless it's in scrimmage. But so Charleston is the one we try to coordinate with the most because Beaufort always goes around another community time where they have theirs at a way earlier based on that community event. So we try to coordinate with Charleston as much as we can. If we get this calendar out early, I've spoken to some of the coaches. If we get this out early, they can then plan their schedule based on this calendar. So then they would be able to opt out during the weeks that we were off and maybe work with those other school districts. The earlier we get it completed, the better they are at planning their spring season and their fall season for next year. The band could also, it would really help our band and athletics to get this approved earlier than we normally do each year so that they can plan for those.
Gotcha. And my other question, Superintendent Williams, in the survey that we sent out to our teachers and to our parents, was there any opportunity for them to discuss the opening day of school?
Well, there was not an opportunity to discuss it, but I think, no, we didn't ask that. We didn't ask that question.
No, and the reason why is because if we, the question about ending first semester kind of leads to when we have to start and the breaks. So if they want the breaks and they want to end prior to winter break, it's impossible to do that and get the amount of days into each quarter that we would have to do.
So,
and not start when we start.
Correct.
And also, let me tell you something else that it could affect our pay dates and different things like that. I know Ms. Barrett raised a question, raised some concern that if we start later, that's going to affect payroll. So, Ms. Barrett, would you like to address that? if we start later than what we've planned to start?
If we start later, you pay everybody based on the course of 24 period. And last year, this fiscal year, because we started earlier, we normally pay our people out by the 30th. That is the last month that, 8/15 is the last pay period that we pay for whole year money that we accrue back in whole year. This year, because we started early, everybody thought they got two different pay. They got the old pay money, and then they got the new pay money because they started earlier. And if we go back and do the other thing, that means they won't get paid till later because we already done paid them out earlier.
So they would miss a pay period.
Okay, so my whole point in saying the thing about the start date, lots of people complained this year, teachers and staff, about coming back in July, right? Typically when we think of July, we think summertime. When we get to August, we think beginning of school. Just like we did in the pie chart that we have, I think before, part of the survey was we talked about fall break, but we didn't take into consideration getting a full week off at Thanksgiving. If you add the numbers together for a shorter fall break, but still getting a full week of Thanksgiving, or a full week of Thanksgiving in lieu of fall break, you've got 56.9%, right? So it kind of changed their answers a little bit whenever they realized there was a different option as far as getting. So I just wonder, and I don't want us to send out 1,000 surveys, but I just wonder if it would change our response to having a fall break if it meant we got the full week at Thanksgiving and we got to start later than coming back in July. You know what I mean? So I just, I don't want to belabor this. I don't want to have 1,000 surveys, but I wonder if it would change teachers and staff's perception of coming back so early or having fall break if it meant they could come back a little bit later and still get the week off at Thanksgiving. I just wonder, August, there was, I'm assuming other board members as well, I got a lot of complaints this year, as if I had something to do with planning the school calendar, about the teachers and staff coming back in July. So I just wonder if that's something we can look at, if it's a possibility. I understand we've got to get so many days in, and if we want the semester to end before we go out on Christmas break, I understand that, but I just kind of wonder if that was even an option given to our staff.
And as we are discussing this, if there are teachers, parents, community members who are listening, to go ahead and respond to the survey, because it'll make it easier for us to make the adjustment and the decision on what we need to do. It's hard when you're putting the survey out and they're not responding, and then it's like when a decision is made, then it's a problem for a lot of people. So I'm just asking that they please respond to the survey.
I appreciate the operations knowledge to know, it's also cost savings. I mean, when we're talking about any type of extracurricular events, we're talking about coaches, we're talking about transportation. And so that coordination with Beaufort as best we can, even though they spring break with Heritage, and we know that, but we start a lot earlier. And Dorchester 2 does not start until their scheduled date is 2 weeks after ours. One thing that I noticed this year was when we got out the gate early, everybody knew it, including our local news reporters who came and wanted to talk to us about everything education, because we were the first ones there.
That's
so,
exactly
just
right.
weighing out those options. I also brought this to the attention before, which was, is Monday the best day to start school? Or previous calendars have considered a Wednesday or Thursday start date. So just talking to our staff about that. Mr. Irwin also mentioned July, and I understand that to be, I did not get as many concerns from staff. They were willing to come back. My question would be to our HR department and in recruitment, is it harder to get staff to come and start new in July? Are they ready to come to us that early, or do they look at us like we are crazy by starting in July. Those are the things I'd like to have better knowledge of before I approve this calendar.
Okay, all right, not a problem. We can most definitely work on that and get that information to you at the December board meeting.
And Ms. Williams, I appreciate you and your staff getting it to us in November and all the work you've done since our October meeting and the turnaround meetings and the sense of urgency and professionalism. I know you've had a lot of meetings as well as your staff to bring all of this together. So hats off.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, any other questions or suggestions, feedback for the calendar? Okay. All right, I do have some overnight, out-of-town field trips to ask for your approval of.
Okay.
Is it okay to go ahead with that?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
So we have 2 field trips that we are requesting. One is a trip to Paris Island by the NJROTC for 2 nights, May 1st through May 3rd. There will be 40 students attending with 4 adults, and the purpose is for career planning, military history, leadership development, and self-discipline. And then the second overnight trip is for the JAG team, which will be traveling to St. Louis, Missouri on April 17th through April 21st. There will be 8 students and 2 adults, and the purpose of this is that students will be competing in various categories for awards and recognition with students from all over the country.
Madam Chair, can I make a motion for both of those at once, or does anyone have a problem?
Both is fine.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept and approve the Paris Island trip. It's very rewarding for our students, as well as the JAG, this plan for the spring.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the field trip. If there's no question, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you.
Okay,
Anything else?
that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We now have Human Resources. Mr. Murdoch is not here. I would like to ask Ms. Hamilton to come up, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You guys have my report. Just wanted to give you the emphasis on the total number of vacancies that we have to date. And this includes certified and classified staff. Also just wanted to update you on some recruitment fairs that we have attended. We had a team to attend the Salkehatchie Fair. And we also had a team to attend our University of Upstate, University of South Carolina Upstate job fair. Also, we have been receiving a high volume of inquiries from the public just about, application statuses. So I just thought it would behoove us to, as a department, just to make the general public aware of our hiring practices and procedures so that when making inquiries, they understand the process, okay? So I just want to take a few minutes just to review that. This is not just for the general public, but we're in the peak of hiring and recruiting, and so for all potential applicants, we just want them to know the process that it has to go through before HR gets involved, okay? So the candidate submits an online application through AppleTrack. Human Resources then forwards those applications to the hiring manager. That could be the principal, the director, or the superintendent, just depending on the position. The principal, director, or the superintendent then reviews all applicants to determine which applicants will be interviewed. And then the principal, director, or superintendent creates an interview panel or committee. The interview committee conducts interviews to narrow down the top candidates based on a scoring rubric. The principal, director, and superintendent then determines the top candidate. The principal, director, or superintendent completes 2 reference checks for the top candidate. The principal, director, or superintendent completes and submits the district's recommendation form with the 2 reference checks for the top candidate to the Office of Human Resources. Upon receipt of the recommendation form and the reference checks, HR reaches out to the candidate to make him or her an offer. Upon receiving a verbal acceptance, HR begins the electronic onboarding process with each candidate. And for your reference, I have included that spreadsheet with, I think it's, and I'm not exaggerating, it might be 80 steps, actions that we have to take individually to get every employee into the system. Okay, so I have put those, every single step in there, along with the checklist for each candidate. And then once onboarding is successful and completed, we then start work. The employee starts work. Any questions from me on the process? But if you should have a checklist, and then you should have another very comprehensive, step-by-step, action by action from the HR specialist. All right. Today we, as a department, we participated in our monthly human capital cohort. We had the opportunity, Collin County School District was selected to highlight in the cohort, and Ms. Jean Nettles actually did the presentation for us today, but we received lots of feedback to help us in the area of human capital. So just proud to say that. We had induction today for year 2 teachers, and tomorrow we'll have induction for year 1 teachers. And so all induction programs to include year 1, year 2, and internationals are going well. That's my report.
Ms. Hamilton.
Oh, I do have a correction. So we do have some things that we need to consider in executive session, so instead of 0, there are 2.
Ms. Hamilton, what did we present on today?
We presented just on, we had last year when we joined the cohort, when we were identified by the state to join the cohort, we had to come up with a strategic plan, and so for a year we worked on our plan. And because we have a very comprehensive plan, they asked us to share that.
I got you. So my question was, it wasn't how you recruit in a rural district. It wasn't a topic like that. It was more so our.
Actually, it was.
Okay.
Those were the topics exactly. You
okay.
know, what are we doing in other rural districts that are in the cohort, like Williamsburg, Marion, Clarendon, Calhoun, Orangeburg, and then Colleton.
I got you.
So we're in the cohort, and we're all we're in between those districts who pay, and so we're kind of uniquely situated, and so we're all fighting a battle right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we got some ideas. We just hope to employ them, and we'll be back before you with some requests in our quest to retain our employees, but attract as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, we will move right along. We will now have finance, Ms. Robel.
Good evening, Ms. Reed and Dr. Reed and Ms. Barrett. Appreciate your reports that you provided us and any updates you want to give us.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
You have a copy of the report for the update on the ESSER funds. I'm not sure if the slides are available to be shown. Essentially, what we're starting off with are the updates in terms of what funding is remaining on our current balance for ESSER funds. You see there we have a little over $10 million where we are spending in all of the priority categories we've budgeted. Go to the next slide, please. These are the amendments that we submitted, that we spoke about the last time for our Amendment 10, and as you can see, most of them have been approved. On the attached CSI report that has the highlighted amounts, you can compare those two and see where those are been incorporated into our district fundings plan. What I didn't do, there's about 9 lines down. I forgot to highlight the amount that was approved for transportation for the elementary support program. Because as you can see, the elementary support program was approved, as well as the increased cost that we were looking at for our existing programs, as well as HVAC for Blackstreet, et cetera. You can read that for yourself. Continuing some of the positions that we had in ESSER 2, the MTSS coordinator, as well as the district social worker, and some other remaining for building and maintenance. Our support for recruiting those virtual teachers will we need for the classrooms, and then Edmonton, one of our classroom programs we're using, and for international recruitment, which is under the FACES line. So that's like 4 different organizations, but it's on that. That's what you see on that report. Next slide. And that's all I have. What questions do you have for me?
So Dr. Reed, this was approved, but when you presented it before, it was waiting to be approved. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, we can present some items because most notably we weren't able to get the weapons detection systems and those things approved. That was not deemed to be aligned with the ESSER spending priorities, but that's okay. We still got those items anyway that we procured them. Okay.
Just a question or observation in those newly approved items, and you know, as we are working to address learning loss, the largest item on this list of approved items is for a smaller program, which is our barbering nail. And so I could not help but look ahead at our operations report. I know that there are efforts still to reduce that cost, and that's not finalized. Just in observation alone, as we look at this list of how we're addressing learning loss in our district, to have such a large tag of one line item for the barbering and nail program is just, whereas the others are all encompassing in our district. I'm hopeful that those estimates come in less. We're able to provide that program at a lower cost and able to spread our ESSER funds into other areas of our district.
Yes, and I can speak on that. We are waiting for those estimates. However, from my understanding and my conversations with Mr. Hamilton and also Ms. Fitch, they have worked very hard to get that, what you see there, down like almost half. So we don't have the final estimate, so that's why we can't give that to you, but hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have it, and we'll be able to share that with you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Barrett.
Good evening, thank you. Good evening to the board and good evening to everyone in the audience. Just wanted to go up give a few updates on what's going on in the finance department. Well, we are in the process of finalizing our fiscal 23 audit. The audit has to be to the state by December 1st. We are on schedule to get everything done to the state by December 1st. The Office of Finance, we had a finance training for all the bookkeepers, principals, directors, and any other staff that works within the bookkeeping aspect of their jobs on September 28th. And we, in the boardroom, we had a very good turnout. We have a lot of new principals and various bookkeepers, so we really wanted to go back and really have a very intensified update on what's going on with the finances and what's new. So we had a great turnout with that. We went over policies and procedures and different changes that was taking places in the finance world, and we had a good time, a good turnout doing all of that. We have some new procedures that we put in place for our federal funds, because it's a little bit different for the procurement for the federal funds than it is for the regular state and local funds. So all of that was sent out by our director of procurement. She sent out 2 different forms, one to how to procure if you get federal funds, and one to how to procure if you're procuring with local or state funds. So that all went out. And preparing for the upcoming fiscal year budget 2024-25, we are starting our planning earlier than normal, but we've already started our planning. We started on Monday, and our first planning meeting was about the ESSER funds, and looking at the ESSER funds to see how we're going to sort of like get away from the ESSER funds and start looking at how we're going to put those things into place that were in ESSER funds and move them into maybe the general fund if need be. So the expenditures that are currently being paid with ESSA funds will need to be reviewed and decision made based upon the benefits and outcomes of what we have. And just a little synopsis of what we have so far in ESSA that we could potentially be putting into the general fund. Salaries and benefits, well, when we first looked at it, this was before we met on Monday. And after we met on Monday, I think it was determined that the salaries potentially could be like $706,610.52 that could potentially be coming to the general fund. We have some programs and curriculum items there that's add up to $1.2 million, approximately $1.2 million. We have virtual teachers of full mind. And even though this would not affect the general fund, the virtual teachers far as more expenses to the general fund, it only affects far as us having our extra money in our fund balance. But because we have so many vacancies that we had in the general fund, we were able to increase our fund balance. But because now we're not going to be able to, and we were paying the virtual teachers full mind out of ESSA, but because of next year we won't have the funds anymore, we'll have to pay those teachers virtually out of the general fund now. Now for the virtual teachers assistants, those come into place because we don't have those budget into the general fund at all. So it depends on what we need for as virtual teachers, but it depends on how much we need for as the teachers assistants. Right now, we have budgeted in the ESSA about $688,000, $197.70. So potentially we had over $4 million that's in the ESSA fund that we didn't necessarily have in the general fund. So we wanted to start looking at those items really early on to make sure that when it's time for budget, we have already considered all these things and look at if this kind of contracts that we have to maybe get out of or not sign for next year, we start early so we can know what to do when it's time for the general fund budgeting process when we begin that earlier this year. Any questions about that?
I can save you $2.4 million right now because next year I hope and pray that we don't have any virtual teachers at all.
That's our prayer too.
I can save you, I just saved you $2.4 million. Ms. Barrett, as you're talking about preparing and planning for the upcoming budget, are we doing so with a zero-based budget?
Well, we haven't started that yet, but we will probably do the zero-based budget this year so that everybody can come and actually build their budget from scratch so that we can go ahead and tell, from scratch, give us what they need, and we're going to give them a sheet. They fill out what they need and tell us what they're going to be doing.
And I think the reason that was suggested to us by the company who did the salary study.
Right.
But I think the reason why that's so important this year is because of the slide you have with the ESSER expenditures, things to be considered. I don't think we need to go into our budget process with, oh, well, right now we have this, this, and this. We've got to figure out how we're going to pay for it. I think we really need to look at that zero-based budget and say, because there may be things on this page, like the 2.4 that I just saved you, that we don't need at all, right? So I really hope we make sure for every department, for our district as a whole, that we scrap all previous budgets. We start with a zero-based budget. That is the only way to get rid of the overspending or the duplicate spending or any of those kind of things. I think this year, we all know, Ms. Williams has already mentioned it, you have mentioned it multiple times, Ms. Hamilton has mentioned it from the HR point of view. There are going to be budget crisis, right?
That is
correct. So I really, I would hope that we would ensure that every department doesn't just take what they gave last year and add to or take away, but that every department, every school starts with zero-based and with the understanding we're in financial crisis.
Right.
So the number that you got last year may not be the number that you're going to get this year, so you really need to think hard about prioritizing needs versus wants kind of thing.
That is correct. Definitely true. Because the one thing that we were receiving last year, in prior year, we had indirect costs of $1 million that we was able to put in the general fund, and that helped us with our budget. But this year, coming up, the next year coming up, we won't have that funds anymore. So it's really gonna be very, very hard. I mean, we just really gonna have to look at the budget really hard. And you're right, by being a zero base, it's not what you used to get, but it's really what you need, and align it with our school, priorities instead of just having it in the budget. So we're really gonna look at it really hard this year with the budget.
Good, thank you.
And just to, comment on that, Mr. Irwin, that's why we are starting our budget process earlier than normal, because normally I think, you start like January, February, you start your process, but because we know that we're going to have to make some tough decisions, that's why we're starting these discussions very early, to see what our needs are, to see what funding sources we have, and also we will have guidance. I know I shared with some board members that I attended a SCASA finance workshop as a part of my professional development, and we had a finance director to do it for us from Spartanburg 7, and she volunteered her services to help us to make sure that we are looking at our budget, correctly, and we are budgeting the right way. So I just wanted to say that so you all can rest assured that we are doing it early, and we're doing it with guidance to make sure that we're doing it the right way.
Thank you for that, Ms. Williams. And I want to say this as well, and I'm not nearly as smart or as polished as Ms. Whitkin is, but I believe from the board's point of view when it comes to the budget, our job is to outline the priorities for the district, and then that needs to be reflected through the budget. And mine last year, and I said this multiple times in meetings, we've got to focus on safety and security, and we've got to focus on our academics. And that has never been more true than it will be this year when we do our budget. So I really hope with the zero-based, maybe this year we can skip painting walls, or maybe this year we can skip getting, benches outside or playground. And we have to understand we're going to be in a difficult situation with finances, so let's make sure that the choices that we make are all focused around those priorities of safety and security and academics.
Any more questions? Okay. Our monthly financial update. On our local revenue, we have an increase of $66,968.04. For our EIA revenue, we had an increase of $248,902.43. And for our federal funds, we have a decrease of $1.1 million, but that fluctuates, depends on when we claim funds, so really that fluctuates. And with our food service fund, I know last year we had a problem with the state. They were paying us late, so that's why it looked like we had less money. But on 2022, we had more than this year, but because the state paid us 2 months in arrear last year, that's what caused that problem with that. So, in the general fund for expenditures, we have a little increase in our expenditures of $61,416.34. Our special revenue, we had a decrease of $64,601.55. Our federal funds, we had a decrease in expenditures of $141,033.60. And our food service also had a decrease of $67,092.41. So we had a total expenditure decrease for $211,311.22. And you also have the reports that for the various reports for the revenue. You have the reports for the travel. If you have any questions with that, you have the also the reports for the capital projects funds. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
If there are no questions, we have 3 items that we need action.
Quick question, if I may, on the board budget report, and that was some discussion about if a particular line item had been overspent to move it to a different line item. So is that being done or considered? I'm specifically looking at, let's see the distinction. if I may, well, I don't know that it has it on there, Ms. Barrett. But you know that there's some expenses that are.
Right,
over-
but what's gonna happen with that is Ms. Sherrill is going to do a budget transfer expense and give it to the finance, and we will move that money over.
So we should see some reflection change
Yes,
in the next month's
in the next
budget
month,
report.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
If there are no other questions, Madam Chair, may I make a motion that we accept the monthly revenue update?
You may go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Have a motion?
Second.
Okay, which one did you make it for? Monthly, okay.
0.03, the monthly revenue update. that
Okay,
was
we have a
presented.
motion and a second. If there's no question, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Go ahead.
We also need to take action as a board to accept the budget report, the expenditures, 10.04.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? We have one opposed.
We also need to accept the capital project budget that was presented for the month of October.
Can I get a second, please?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. If there is no discussion, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? Have two opposed. We will continue on to, that concludes your report, Ms.
Yes,
Stover.
ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett and Dr. Reed.
We will now have curriculum and instruction, Mr. Irwin.
Superintendent Williams, I do not see Ms. Head, are you doing it, Ms. Tracy? I'm sorry.
Mrs. McDonald is going to fill in for Mrs. Hedden tonight.
Okay, Ms. McDonald, we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board and community stakeholders. As Ms. Williams just stated, I'm stepping in for Ms. Hedden tonight and wish her feeling better tomorrow. I know that she's listening, so I'll see you tomorrow. Just to highlight a few things that everyone has been doing in the department. I'll begin with Ms. Hedden. She's been very busy with a variety of topics, and I just want to highlight a few. She was instrumental in planning the community meeting that was held on November the 6th. Also, she has worked hard to provide support for our district content specialist and also leading the charge of conducting classroom observations. So, moving along to our district content specialist, they've been very busy. The next two slides cover many activities that they've been working on, but I would like to highlight three major areas. The first is that our content specialists have been working very hard observing in classrooms and when appropriate, providing model lessons or either co-teaching lessons alongside the teacher. The second area that the content specialists have been doing is once PD has been provided to our teachers and to our instructional coaches, that they follow up to ensure that that learning that has been provided is being implemented into the classroom. And then lastly, they have also been participating, both our instructional coaches and the content specialists have been participating in the cognitive coaching professional development. Cognitive coaching includes a pre-conference, a lesson observation, and a post-conference. One of the goals of the pre-conference is to identify lesson outcomes and to literally envision what students will be doing during the lesson that will indicate whether or not they've achieved the objectives of the lesson. During the lesson, the coach collects data that the teacher has requested that the coach collects, and then during the post-conference, the coach provides reflective questions for the teacher to think about and answer as they go back to actually reconstruct their lesson and to analyze it for themselves. So moving forward to the next slide, the list continues of the work that many of them have been working on. The next area that I'd like to highlight on the following slide is some of our professional development that has been going on throughout the district. But one of the ones that I'd like to highlight is our math professional development. As we're all aware, an area of concern has been our math. So Ms. Sandra Goff Robinson has been working in our district with our secondary schools, so that work has started in our elementary schools this year. She has been coming and meeting with our teachers on a monthly basis at the elementary schools, and during these sessions, she works with them alongside the instructional coaches in their Community of Practice, PLC. So the professional development is being provided during the day that we want the teachers collaborating together so they're not pulled out of the classroom and missing instructional time, or being held after school when teachers are ready to go home at the end of the day. During this time, she models strategies and research-based activities that are aligned to state standards that can easily be duplicated in the classroom. We have received feedback from these opportunities, and they've all been very positive, and evidence of the implementation of these strategies is currently being seen by our coaches when they go back to do observations. I will quote Ms. Duffy this afternoon. We had some professional development scheduled for this week, and Ms. Goff Robinson is also homesick, and they were very upset that their training was being rescheduled. So I think that is a good sign. So I don't want to leave our secondary math focus out. This professional development has continued through Math Nation, through Ms. Goff Robinson also at our secondary schools. So we have had very targeted, focused professional development throughout the district. So moving forward to my office, I'd like to highlight a few things that I've been working on. I've been attending all Principal Academy sessions for every school, and providing support to the principals as they work to monitor the strategies that Mr. Greenberg has provided. I also take the work that has been done at the schools that he works with and replicate that work at Bells and Forest Hills. Additionally, all COGAT testing for 2nd grade along with PSAT for 10th grade was completed in the last month. And the last person in our department is Mrs. Varn, and you can see where she has been working with our Power School clerks to ensure that everything is correct in Power School and that reports are being generated correctly, providing troubleshooting sessions when there were issues. And additionally, she's also worked to learn more herself by attending Incident Management PD, which documents our behavioral incidents, and also Ed-Fi, which is a big component of the State Department with talking back and forth for Power School to the State Department. So at this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, or if you have questions about the report, I'll try my best to answer those that she also gave in the report.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. And for those that don't know, Sandra Goff Robinson was a student here and a math teacher and went on to work at State Department, and what a blessing she's back helping to support us as a consultant. So thank you for that.
Are there any questions? Thank you. We will now have operation, Mr. Stavinger.
At this time, we will hear from Ms. Ellen Fitch.
Thank you. Good evening. You have my report. Mr. Hamilton is away at a conference tonight for the South Carolina Rural Water Association. And I did want to mention, Mr. Bradley wanted me to bring up that he will be having his Thanksgiving luncheon on November 21st. And you are all invited. Every year he tries to include you if you're able to attend. So he wanted me to make sure I mentioned that. So if you have any questions, I will try to entertain them, and if I can't answer them, I will make sure that information gets back to Ms. Williams to be shared with you.
Ms. Fitch, I was wondering if the number of work orders was correct, or was it a typo? 258 completed by Buildings and Ground, was that completed or received?
Completed.
Thank you. Superintendent Williams, you mentioned we would get an update, and if you can give that to us at a later time, that's fine. The timeline on students being able to take nail and barbering, will that still be on schedule for January?
So I did have conversation with Mr. Kubik, just in case the project is not finished by the desired date of January, and we do have a contingency plan. I spoke with him in depth. There's a classroom space that's going to be utilized for the theory part of the class until the lab and everything is done. So he has already worked through that, and we're ready in case everything's not ready by January.
Ms. Fitch, with the capital, the explanation given, and I was grateful to read it in relevance to our ESSA report, but it's identified as capital projects, and those are actual, the Neil and Barber renovations and robotics, those are actually ESSA, so they're not in our...
All the projects are capital projects. They're just, some of them are funded by ESSER funding.
Got it. And so in my mind, capital projects would be funded by the Capital Projects Fund, and ESSER projects, ESSER fund, just for reference, because that is not taking our bond money for those projects. Those are ESSER funded.
Right. Some of our capital projects are ESSER funded, and some of the maintenance, updating maintenance and repairs, as she stated in her report.
Okay. With the Head Start program that we heard so much about, would they also be partaking in our student nutrition program?
Yes, they are. We provide breakfast and lunch to them, and Low Country. They are also, at the end of the month, we will bill them for the adults in that room. They're furnishing the adult lunches through their program.
Good. That's wonderful. And then just a question about the use of food trucks in our district. At one point, there was a restriction on in the food that was brought in during the school day. If a school wants to have a food truck or provide food in a way that is, does that counter what your numbers are as far as what you're predicting?
Yeah, and if National School Lunch Program is funded solely by a student picking up a meal. So when a student doesn't pick up a meal, then that funding cannot be claimed back to pay the staff and pay for the food that was purchased. So we get zero money from the district. So our funding is through breakfast and lunch and after school snack. That's all the funding we get. So if you bring in a food truck, it's competing against the National School Lunch Program, and that is not allowed.
If you know about it in advance, if a school has a special event that they're having, outside food brought in for, then you can make adjustments, or how does that work?
No, you can't sell it to students during the day because it doesn't meet Smart Snack compliant for one. It can be done after school hours because our wellness policy was accepted by our district, and it says you cannot sell or serve food that does not meet Smart Snack compliant during the school day until 30 minutes after the school day until midnight that night. Okay. I work with the schools, and when they want to do some kind of award, I will work with the schools, and I will tell them, make sure that they don't do it until after lunch. I can't compete with a food truck. They're not going to have Smart Snack compliant. Their food is not going to meet the regulations. Our department cannot compete with that. We cannot fund our department, and I can't keep people employed if people are not eating our meals.
So I'm going to
appreciate that.
check on that because I
Appreciate the
do
explanation.
know that there is a food truck that's scheduled for a school, but from my understanding, it was for adults only. But I will make sure that it's only for adults and not for the students.
Sure. Appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there items that kids can buy in addition to what's provided for them?
We sell extra food, but it still has to meet the regulations. But we sell extra, and the breakfast and lunch and after-school stack is no charge to the students. They're more than welcome to purchase extra. We do sell a la carte items that are not. We sell chips that meet the regulation. We sell Smart Snack compliant ice cream. We sell some beverages that meet, but each grade level has regulations that we have to meet. So I do my best. I'm not the food police. We have school stores, and I give them all the information that they have to meet the regulations, but I'm not going to go out and police that. I let them know what's required by the State Department, and then if they are not following those regulations and they get shut down, it's because we were reviewed and they weren't meeting those regulations. And we have had findings from our administrative review from vending machines that we're not meeting and from other things going on in the schools that we're not meeting, and I would have to do corrective action. And our department takes that on our administrative review when the school district, anywhere in the school district, is not meeting our wellness policy.
Is there any other question for her?
But I do work with all the schools and try to help them. I did that contract with the ice cream generally for them, so they do participate in that. And so any way I can help them, I try to help them.
That it? Anybody have any questions for Ms. Fitch? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion that we go into executive session. Upon returning to open session, action may or may not be taken on item discussed. We're going into executive session for 13.01, 13.02, 13.03, 13.04, 13.05, 13.06, 13.07, and 13.08. Can I get a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we enter into executive session for item 13.01, discussion of employment matters related to hirings and resignations. Item 13.02, receipt of legal advice related to student discipline matters. Item 13.03, student admittance release, SC Code of Laws, Section 30-4-70. Item 13.04, discussion regarding the development of security devices and procedures. Item 13.05, receipt of legal advice regarding employee compensation. Item 13.06, receipt of legal advice regarding social media litigation. Item 13.07, receipt of legal advice regarding legal fees. And item 13.08, discussion of employment matter related to the evaluation of interim superintendent's goals and priorities.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If there is no discussion, can I get a vote, please? All in favor of going into executive session, please signify by raising your right hand. We are in executive session. Thank you.
I got it.
I'd like to entertain a motion that we come out of executive session back to open session, please.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we enter back into open session.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If there is no discussion, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. We are back in open session. We have 13.01, Ms. Strobel.
Yes, Madam Chair. We have a motion that we accept the staff separation number 1 and 2, as well as the staff transfer number 1.
Can I get a second?
Can that be two motions, please?
We're only going
Sure. Madam Chair, we have a motion that we accept staff separation 1 and 2.
Second.
have a motion and a second. If no discussion, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Madam Chair.
All opposed? We have one opposed. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, we have a motion that we accept the staff transfer number 1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If no discussion, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? 2. We're going to now go to 13.03. Mr. Stoppinger.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the student transfer request for summary recommendations release 2023, student number 1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If there is no discussion, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. We will now go into election of officer. We'll go to the attorney.
Let's see if this doesn't squeak this time. At this time, it's appropriate. What you need to do now is elect your officers for the next school, for the next year, for a calendar year. And so, Tom and I, as the attorneys, we can take and run it for you to get your chair. And once your chair is elected, that person will then take over for your vice chair and your secretary. So at this time, are there any nominations for the chair?
I'd like to make a nomination, and I'd like to start by saying thank you to all of the officers that have served over the years. Some are pictured here that have served a very long time. And we know that as voting members, we all get the same vote, but those that commit to serve have extra time to give, to be organized and lead our meetings, as well as be available to the superintendent for signatures and attending events. So thank you to those people that are able to commit to that and have committed to that. Ms. Simmons, Ms. Witkins. At this time, I'd like to nominate our vice chair, Sharon Witkin, to serve as our chair for the next 12 months.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
We will now open. We will now open for the vice chair. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. I would like to take any nominations for the position of vice chair.
Madam Chair, I would like to nominate Ms. Lynn Strobel to serve as our vice chair for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Second.
And then really, this does not require a second. What you would say, are there any other nominations for the vice chair?
Thank you.
And if they're not, then you go into the vote at that point.
Any other nominations? Okay, at this time, there's one nomination for Ms. Strobel as vice chair. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. The next position we have is that of secretary. This is a new position to our board structure. It will the individual will help with agenda planning and also serve in the capacity when the vice chair or chair is not present. Do we have any nominations?
Madam Chair, just based on his previous experience of being, I know, vice chair and policy committee chair, I think it would be appropriate to nominate Mr. Charles Murdoch to be secretary.
Are there any other nominations? I'm a little uncertain as to how to proceed with Mr. Murdoch not being present. Can we proceed with a vote and?
I would like to make a comment. To invite a board member to be a secretary when we have activity that is going on, I feel that I don't think it would be appropriate. I think that we would probably need to take this vote when he is here, because he's not able to decide for himself. And I felt like we have Miss Linda, and I don't know about Riddell, but just they are still with the district. We could consider them. Are we looking for a non-paid?
That's completely different. It's a completely different
This is
position.
an officer of the board. If there better explanation than what I can provide.
It's not a secretary in the sense of Linda and Riddell taking notes in the minutes and all. It's a leadership position to help with the officers and the running of the board and preparing agendas and filling in when the other officers are not present. But it's not their position.
Well, I mean, if you guys want to go with a vote, I just feel that it's more appropriate if he's here to decide for himself. But, I mean, I'm just one board member. So I would prefer you do as you please.
As provided, the council at this time was that of to take the vote, and then if Mr. Murdoch declined, we'd have a revote in December. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed? One. And then if for some reason Mr. Murdoch declines the officer position before him, then we will have a revote in December. Excuse me. Again, that meeting date is scheduled for the 12th of December. Is there any other business of the board?
I would just like to just put it to the public that the robotic has a competition that is on December 9th. Is it at the high school? At the middle school? The middle school. So a lot of time we don't get this information and go in and do, support this program. So for those who would be interested, I think they start around 7:30 in the morning. So robotic competition, December 9th at 7:30 at the middle school. That's all.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. We stand adjourned.